How's it going, guys? Welcome to Minimize Media. I'm your host, James, and welcome to the follow-up of my playthrough of the remake of Final Fantasy VII. Now, I wanted to do a follow-up to this game because it's really important to me. Not just this game, but Final Fantasy VII in general. It is, like, my all-time favourite game. The original is my all-time favourite game. Like, there's games that I love, like Streets of Rage 2 and Super Mario 64 and stuff like that. But nothing gives me the feeling that Final Fantasy VII does. So when I found out they were officially making the remake literally a couple of years ago now, it's like, wasn't it like 4 years ago, something like that? I know that it was announced. There was like a PlayStation, for when the PlayStation 3 was announced, it was like a tech video thing, like to show the graphics of the PlayStation 3. And there was like a couple of clips or something with the with Final Fantasy VII in it, and ever since then everyone was like, oh, is there going to be a remake? And then there wasn't, and all of a sudden it got announced, and like my mind just got blown. I was like, I have to own this, definitely. This is like well, if you're a gamer, there's that one game that you know's coming up, which you know is going to change you, and you need to own it, and it's a big deal to not just the gaming industry, but you personally. That's more what Final Fantasy VII is to me, and that's what this remake felt. It felt big and important. It felt, I don't know how to describe it. It's weird. Now that I've completed it, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about it and my feelings on the game and what I liked, what I maybe disliked, which is a very short list if I'm honest. What my thoughts on it are, because it's such an important game to me personally that I think it's cool to break down the little bits and see what worked, what didn't. Just break the game down. I want to start off first by saying that I did not want to play this for the channel. I wanted to keep it personal, I wanted to keep it for me. Just playing in my living room in my own time, but I don't know what it was. I think I just enjoyed the idea. I played the demo, and I enjoyed the idea of being able to share my first reactions with you guys and just record videos of it and like see my first time, because I'm never going to get that chance again now. It's every time that you've seen a video of me playing it is my genuine, I swear, my genuine first reaction to anything that happened in the game. So, if anything, it's fun for me to watch back and go, oh, look at my dumb face reacting to this bit. But I will say, first and foremost, that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved pretty much every aspect of the game. I think it is incredible. It's an amazing gaming experience. Just even from a gaming standpoint, it's an enjoyable game to play. But for me, don't forget, this is just my opinion, but for me, it gave me everything I wanted from it. Like, everything that, like, all the anticipation I built up in my own head about the game, I got, and then some. I know a lot of people have different opinions on the game, and some people don't like it for certain reasons, and we'll probably go into those as this video sort of progresses. But for me, I got what I wanted out of it. Like 100%. Like, everything I wanted it to be, it was. And everything I didn't know it was going to be, it was as well. And I loved that. So, you'll have to excuse me if I'm a bit biased about it, because I just love the original story, and I think the way they've adapted it is just fantastic. And I had an amazing experience, not only playing it, but recording it for a series on the channel. Okay, so let's get the technical jargon out of the way first, which I'm not very good at technical jargon, so it's going to be super layman's terms for me. Let's look at the graphics. The game's beautiful. I mean, compared to, say, something like, say, Red Dead Redemption 2 or The Last of Us 2 that came out recently with its like hyper realism. Last of Us 2 is the most beautiful looking game I've ever seen, like hands down. But I think the like, because of the style of this game and the whole, it's got that Final Fantasy flair to it. It's got that sort of unique stamp on it. It's Final Fantasy. But for me, compared to other Final Fantasies, even the previous one, Final Fantasy XV, this stands out like a sore thumb because of its the stylistic elements that go into it. the slums, the rubble, the poverty, the sort of industrial feel of it, the pipes and the metal, and do you know what I mean? It's got a completely different vibe to it compared to other Final Fantasy games, and I adore that. I think that's amazing. I think that's what I got from the original, but this just boosted it tenfold, like massively for me. It felt more, the graphics made it for me feel, what am I trying to say? The graphics made me feel like it was more real, more tangible. Like, it felt more lived in. It felt a bit more either like clean and sleek or rotted and decayed. The graphics were stunning, especially those pre-rendered bits. That, man, they were breathtaking. Like, there was the one part when we were in the Shinra building, and we were getting like a tour of it. It was like a simulation room, and they showed you like Neo Midgar. Man, the graphics in that bit, my eyes were just like, boom. It was beautiful to look at. I loved it. And then all the cutscenes at the end, after the fight with Sephiroth, just stunning to look at. Really, really stunning. Absolutely love the graphics. Right, here's a big one, gameplay. Because obviously they've completely moved away from the turn-based combat, which Final Fantasy in general is sort of known for. I mean, it didn't exactly invent turn-based combat, but if I think of a turn-based if somebody says like, what kind of combat is it, I'll go, oh, it's turn-based, like Final Fantasy. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of that. I associate it with Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy VII is such an amazing like turn-based game. Like for its time, it came out in 1997. It really sort of revolutionized how you could organize your party and give people different roles and use different magic and have them like, and the order that they would go in and stuff like that. It revolutionized that kind of thing, and to take that away is quite a brave move, I think. And to make it more of a real-time combat thing. But they also added the element of building up your ATB gauge and then literally pressing X and having that sort of issuing a command like you would if it was turn-based. For me, that worked massively. I loved it. I loved being able to run into the fight, like do a couple of mad slashes as Cloud or as Barrett, stand in the back and just sort of shoot them with the gun arm, build that gauge, and then bust something big like a piece of magic or like the actual the special abilities that each character gets. So with Cloud, for me, I would always jump to the triple slash, because I think the triple slash is fantastic, because it just hits one character, then it runs to another, and then it runs to another, and if it doesn't, it just does 3 massive attacks on one enemy. And I loved that idea. I thought it was so good, because it gave me the feel of playing the original while having that real-time battle sequence running in and chopping things, and it felt nice and fast-paced. Sometimes it was honestly, it was a bit out of control sometimes. I didn't know where I was, who I was facing, what was going on. Sometimes it can get a little bit messy. But in a way that sort of added to the urgency of the battle for me. I thought the combat was so fun. Really, really fun. Like, it just got the heart racing, especially in some of those bigger bosses. It felt really tense and like really sort of punchy. Absolutely, I loved the gameplay of this game. It's so great. I love the being able to do the summons as well, and then issue summon commands to the summon by building your ATB gauge. That was awesome, man. That was so cool. I absolutely loved it. Gameplay wise, it's easy to play. It's just jump in, you can slash about, it's really, really cool. And then if you want to use some strategy, you've got that ATB build and you can just bomb something out, something massive, piece of magic, summon, whatever, man. For me, the gameplay is great. Right, let's get into the nitty gritty of why I actually like this game. Gameplay wise, no, I don't think it's the best game in the world. But one of the things that I think really takes it for me and really made me fall in love with the game is the story, and most importantly for me, the character development. In Final Fantasy VII, in the original, there's loads. Like, Cloud's character is deep and layered and messed up in the head and finds redemption, and you know, there's plenty going on. And then there's Barrett's character, there's Tifa's character, there's Aerith's character. You know, they have great progression. But I tell you what this game did. It went deeper, and it made me care more, not just about the character's past, but the character's emotions, their current emotions, how they're feeling. Like, there's a load of scenes in the game where Tifa is having sort of, you can see her having a crisis in her own head, and her eyes are moving, and she's questioning herself, and she's questioning her beliefs and stuff, and you can see it. It's visible on her face. And with eventually what goes on, with Seventh Heaven being destroyed, and the plate falling, and you know, killing thousands and thousands of people, even though she tried to do her best, she has this crisis of faith, and Barrett sort of has to inject her with this, like, you know, come on, you know what you're doing, you know what's going on here. And I think that's fantastic. I like Barrett's like character development. His relationship with his little girl Marlene is really, really like beautiful and nice, and like he mentions it every other time he can to try, and it reinforces why he's doing what he's doing. Sometimes I'll say it gets a bit one-dimensional, where he's a bit kind of like, I'm saving the planet, you know, I'm a freedom fighter, they're sucking out the Mako and all that stuff. But that's sort of like, you meet people like that are really sort of narrow-minded, they've got one vision. And I think compared to Cloud, who's all over the place, Tifa, who's all over the place, and Aerith, who sort of is discovering herself, I think having Barrett there as I know exactly what I'm doing, I know where I'm going, I know how I'm going to get there, it adds that sort of, I don't know, arrogant stability to the group, and I think that's really, really cool. The character development for other characters is what I love in this game as well. Like, most importantly, the Avalanche guys, so Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. Man, now, like, I mean, you've watched it, so spoilers, obviously, but when they die in the original, it's a big deal, don't get me wrong. It's like, oh no, this is so tragic. Like, oh no, like the freedom fighters are being attacked, and now they're dead, and the plate, and all that stuff. But in this version, man, it hit me hard, real hard. Like, because you visit Jesse's mum, like, on the plate. You actually go up there after that incredible bike section, by the way, which is just so good, where you fight Roche, and I wasn't expecting that bike section, because there's only supposed to be one, technically, but I'll get to that in a minute. When you got to the plate and visit Jesse's mum, and you learn a bit about her backstory, about how she wanted to go to the Golden Saucer and be an actress, and she's got this quirky little personality, and she's clearly head over heels for Cloud. It adds this real deep element to her character. Then you've got, like, Biggs, who you later find out used to help volunteer and run the orphanage in the Sector 5 slums. I mean, how can you hate someone who runs an orphanage? Do you know what I mean? Not to mention, like, Biggs is like, I mean, that is a handsome dude. Like, I was expecting, like, everyone to, like, go, oh, Cloud is so beautiful and all that stuff, but Biggs got it going on. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the fact that he runs the orphanage, or he did, and then he's a freedom fighter, and he's such a cool, down-to-earth, laid-back kind of guy. His death, like, hit me the hardest. Well, it would have, but apparently, like I say, spoilers, apparently he survived, which is brilliant. But yeah, when his speech, when we're on the way to the top of the support beam to the pillar, like, his bit hit me hard. I was fighting back tears a little bit. I don't know if you guys were. Maybe I'm just silly. I don't know, but I was fighting back a bit of tears, definitely. Same with Jesse's. But Biggs is more. I don't know why. I just connected with his character a bit more. I don't know why. And then, like, Wedge, what a wonderful character they've made of him. He's such a goofy, silly, fun, like happy-go-lucky, clumsy character who loves his cats and he's loyal and he gives you the big thumbs up. Oh, I fell in love with Wedge. And when I found out he survived and we rescued him when we were underground, oh, I was so happy. And then he ended up dying anyway. I mean, he might not have, but as far as I'm aware, he ended up dying when he was in the Shinra building. So he broke my heart twice, which is like, but I fell in love with Wedge's character. And there's this really nice scene between Barrett and Cloud. You're playing the game, so it's not a cutscene. But Barrett says like, he really likes you, and Cloud is like, yeah, I know. And it's just like he may be who he is, but he's always got your back. And it's just like, you can imagine Wedge in the background going like, oh, how cool is Cloud? I really hope he joins our team. He seems so cool and nice. I bet he's the coolest guy in the world. And sort of super fanning over Cloud, like away from the prying eyes of people. Like, I bet him and Jesse just got together and just talked about Cloud a lot. And this game made me fall in love with those people. And I knew it was coming, and I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for their death, and I should have been because I knew it was coming. But I'll say also, on that note of other characters, I think one of the set of characters I loved in this game, loved them, was the Turks. So the Turks in the original game, they're clearly a competent group because of what they do, like what their job is and how they've been employed. But in the original game, they can sometimes come across really goofy. Like when you fight like Reno and you fight, and like Rude definitely comes across as a bit sort of like, I imagine him to have like a duh kind of voice. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't. I don't think the coolness, just for me personally, I don't think the coolness comes across in the original game. They seem like a goofy group of people. Maybe I'll look at them differently now, but when I go back to play the original. But for me, the Turks in this version of the game are badass, super cool, headstrong, focused group of cool guys. Like when you fight Reno for the first time in the church, he is competent. He knows what he's doing in this fight. He can take you on. Like you're just a scrub to him. You're nothing, And it reinforces what they actually do as a job. And when you eventually meet Rude, who's my favourite of the Turks, and he puts on the glasses and he's super cool and he's got that really nice deep voice. And he looks a bit like Agent 47 with the nice like tight like suit. Man, the Turks were awesome. I loved them to bits. They were so good. When you end up fighting, when you fight Rude for the first time, and then eventually when you fight them both at the top of the support where the pillar is, it felt like they felt competent. They felt like they could take you on and wipe you out if they got the upper hand. And compared to the original, they just feel a bit goofy and like, get out of the way, stupid Turks, you don't know what you're doing. Whereas in this version, they felt like a threat, which was awesome. They felt like towards the end when President Rufus comes down and he surrounds himself with the Turks, they feel like this strong force to be reckoned with. And I look forward to seeing the Turks in the next game, and hopefully they're in it a bit more and have a bit more of a deadly presence, because in this game they were cool and I loved them. Another big thing for me, the thing that I connect with this game with the most, is the slums under the plate. That is a really big important thing for me, because in the previous version, there are slums and stuff, and obviously there's technical limitations, but one of the things that I loved about the original is this whole, they're sort of surviving under the plate. There's no sunshine, there's no love for people underneath the plate. They don't care. They're the scrubs, they're the castaways of society. They are the poor that the rich don't care about. This version of the game really drives that home, big style. Like when you eventually go down into the slums for the first time and you go into Sector 7, it hits real hard. You see people working, people scraping to get by. people doing any jobs they can to earn any kind of money they can to survive. They all live in sort of shanty buildings and disheveled, it's just rubble that they've built into their own town. And this version really drives it home with the NPCs that you walk past and what they talk about and how they interact with each other, and then eventually some of the NPCs that you interact with as part of, say, like the side quests when you first start doing the side quests with Tifa, and eventually the ones with Aerith in Sector 5. The slums feel really lived in and really suppressed under the plate. Like when you look up and you see the plate above, you can really feel like, wow, they've got everything and we've got nothing, and we're just trying to fight to survive. And I think that was just driven so hard home in this version of the game. I thought it was phenomenal. It really made me care. I cared anyway, but it really made me go, wow, look at this. Someone really should do something about this. And though Cloud is indifferent, he should be the one to do something about it. I felt like the slums were properly represented in this version. Really properly represented. And made me care a lot about the people that lived under the plate. And it really drives home why Barrett cares so much about sort of his people, if you like the people that live under the plate, the people who work for Avalanche, or his sector of Avalanche anyway, because we would later find out there are other sectors, and they don't communicate very well from what I've seen. But the slums for me is a really important part of the Midgar section of the story, and they really got it right for me. I thought they knocked it out of the park with that. I thought it was fantastic. On the subject of the slums, let's talk about War Market, which was an awesome bit of this game. I loved it. It's one of those big bits that we thought was going to get taken out because of some what could be interpreted as sensitive issues. But no, they didn't take these bits out. They left them in. In fact, they amped it up and made it, in my opinion, made it way better. When you get to War Market, you meet the trio. So you meet Sam, Madam M, and what's his name? Andrea. I've got it written here. Andrea Rodea. Excellent characters. I love them. Sam's a bit sort of neither here nor there. Mr. Red Dead Redemption. But Madam M was this saucy, sexy, cool, large and in charge mistress woman who sort of had her finger on the pulse, and knew what was going on. She knew how to make the right moves. She was large and in charge, and I loved her. I thought she was an excellent character. But for me, the winner is Andrea. One of the coolest characters in the game. Like, he was so cool. Like, I loved how flamboyant he was, how confident he was. And that scene, man, when you go to the Honeybee Inn and you're trying to persuade him to help you get into the Don's place, and he wants to, you need him to make you look beautiful, to help Cloud dress feminine, to get chosen by the Don. You know how this bit goes. It was really tastefully handled. And the dance scene, wow, I loved it. It was so good. I failed miserably the first time I did it, but the choreography and the music and the lights and it was just great. I loved every second of it. I saved that bit specifically so I could show my Mrs. Hannah, and it was just like she was blown away by like, what's this doing in the game? I was like, no, it needs to be in it. It's so good. Andrea Rodea was one of my favourite characters in the whole game. And the way that he says beauty transcends sort of gender and things like that. And being comfortable is more important than like identifying as something, I thought that was a really cool message for like, be yourself. It doesn't really matter what anyone thinks, and it doesn't matter how you look. It just be yourself and be comfortable. And whatever that may be, and however that might manifest itself in you, be comfortable with it. It doesn't matter what you associate as or what you look like as. It's all nonsense at the end of the day. How you feel comfortable is the most important thing. That was my takeaway from that. And I think they turned a thing in a game where there was a bit of silly cross-dressing into a really cool, really positive and beautiful message. And I loved that bit. It was probably one of my favourite bits in the whole game. Absolutely loved it. I just want to quickly go over the voice acting of the game. Now, in my honest opinion, there are games out there that have much better voice acting than this game. Definitely, like 100%. Especially recently, if you're comparing it to newer titles, if you watch The Last of Us 2, whether your opinion on that game is you love it or you hate it or you thought they made wrong decisions or whatever, the voice acting in that game is flawless. You can't deny that. It's so good. It's real. It's raw. It's voice acted to the point of where it's just regular acted and they just recorded the voice, you know? The voice acting in this game is great and it fits, it works. There are some points in it which are a bit silly, especially talking to NPCs. Sometimes they feel a bit kind of, oh, hey Cloud, how's it going? But there are times where the voice acting was really good. When the plate falls and Barrett goes to... he has his sort of burst, his outburst of anger and starts shooting at the wall. The acting in that bit, loved it. Really great. Obviously Cloud is quite a wooden human being, so you can't really say that he's got a lot of great voice acting bits. When he gets angry, that's when he gets really cool. He starts swearing and it's just like, yeah, that's cool. But Tifa takes it for me in the voice acting sort of a bit of this game. Her emotions and her self-doubt and stuff, like, I felt it, man. It was real to me. Like, you could see the doubt in her eyes. It made you question what she was questioning in her own head. Is this the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? Are we saving the right people? Are we making the wrong decisions? Is the bad things that are happening our fault? And I think out of all the characters in the game, I think Tifa was the one that drove it home. And a lot of the time, it wasn't her even saying it. It was just her face saying it and then a couple of lines of dialogue. And I think her character for me was probably my favourite in terms of the voice acting to drive home the emotions of what was going on in the game. So... yeah, not the best, but you know, I mean, you can't like compare it to some games that we've got now where the voice acting's phenomenal. But it was really great, and some of the actual voice choices, like Heidegger's voice and the President's voice and Hojo's voice, the actual casting is fantastic because now they're the voices I'm going to hear when I play the original, which is probably going to be soon. From the way I'm feeling, I'm getting that urge to play it again. They're the voices I'm going to hear, especially Heidegger's voice, because the guy who plays Heidegger is the guy who plays, what's his name? The dog in Adventure Time, and it escapes me now. But he plays the dog in Adventure Time. Right, give me a sec, I have to look it up. Jake the dog, that's it. It's in the song. Jake the dog and Finn the human. Yeah, he plays Jake the dog, and I recognised it instantly. But his voice as Heidegger was one of my favourites because it was really gruff and, you know, it felt like villainy. And I liked Heidegger's character in general because he felt really villainous and like he just wanted to crush the Avalanche crew and put them under his thumb. Like, Heidegger was probably maybe my favourite bad guy in it, maybe. No, second. Obviously, Sephiroth's in this game, isn't he? But we'll get to Sephiroth in a minute, because I've got a couple of opinions on his character. Okay, so some of my favourite parts of this game were the first bike race that you have going up to the plate to see Jesse's mom, and you fight Roche, who is a member of Soldier. Wow, that bit was awesome. I loved it. It was so exhilarating and cool, and obviously it's setting you up to do the original bike race at the very end of the game, and it's kind of like the bike section is only one part, so they went, well, we'll just give it them twice because we don't want them to wait that long to be able to do something so cool. And I'm so glad they put it in. I know a lot of people have got complaints and stuff like that, but I thought that bit was awesome. I thought it was great. I loved going up to the plate and Okay, it might be a bit anticlimactic when you get to the end and you just end up stealing from a man who's lay in a bed comatose. But that bit was so much fun. Absolutely great fun to play. And Roche, I really wanted to see Roche again in the Shinra building. I really wanted to see him again because he was so cool and flamboyant, and he had this excellent mullet coif thing that he had going on with his hair, and yeah, I loved him. He was so cool. He is what I think a member of Soldier would be. Unique, intricate, weird, self-absorbed, that kind of thing. I thought Roche's character was super fun, and excellent fun to fight. Obviously, the dance scene between Andrea and Cloud is also an amazing scene. So fun, so great. Visually stunning to look at with all the lights and stuff going off. Really cool to look at. Seeing the plate fall, that was a really good scene because it really felt destructive. It really felt apocalyptic and end of the world, and it just felt hardcore. It felt like the consequence of this action felt big, and it felt important, and it felt dangerous, and I loved that bit. But man, nothing compares even to the original game. Like, in tandem, my favourite bit of the original game and this game is looking up and seeing the Shinra building for the first time. Like, there's something about that scene. I think it's because it's when you start to feel really like a hero and like you're making a difference. And in this game, it was built up so massively with Aerith being snatched that you had this sense of colossal like heroism. Like, you're going in, it's literally called the chapter's called Belly of the Beast, and it really feels like, right, this is it, this is the point of no return. It's time to get in there or die trying to rescue Aerith, who's clearly the most beautiful, lovely, nice human being on the planet. Which her character, I'm going to be really sad if, when eventually that thing happens that we know what's going to happen, wink, that's going to make it even worse for me now because I fell in love with her character. I felt like Aerith is just wonderful. What a great, beautiful character she really is in the game. But she is in the original, so there's not much difference there. There's I felt for her the same way I did in the original. So, but yeah, those are some of my favourite scenes from it. Let me know your favourite scenes in the comments below, because there's loads I'm glossing over because I'm making a video and there's loads I could talk about in this game. But I'm glossing over a couple of things just to, get a thing out for you guys because I really want to discuss it. So if you've got a favourite bit in this game, then please let me know in the comments below because that would be awesome. I'd love to. Plus, I'll get my memory sparked at that bit and it'll probably end up being my favourite bit. I also really liked some of the expanded story stuff when, say for instance, when you eventually beat the Dawn and you go into the sewers with Leslie and you hear about Leslie's backstory with her, his fiance, and how the Don chose her, and now he thinks she's dead, and he basically just wants revenge. He wants to kill the Don, but that was all revealed really slowly, and you got to go back in the sewers, which was a great bit in the game. What else? The side missions in Sector 7 and Sector 5 with Tifa and Aerith respectively. Personally, a lot of people I've heard them call them filler and fluff and stuff like that, but I loved them. It was an amazing world to live in, to play in, so I wanted to play in that world as much as I possibly could. So I really liked the idea of doing these side missions, getting to know some of the locals, and for me that's what drove it home when the plate eventually fell, because I knew some of them. And now some of them are just dead or they've lost their homes. Like, doing those side quests, for me, added to the gravity of what eventually would happen with the plate falling down and the Shinra and stuff like that. So I loved all the extra story stuff. Going down into the secret lab, like underneath Sector 7. It was underneath Sector 7, wasn't it? Yeah. That was awesome. Especially fighting that massive monster boss thing. That was dope, wasn't it? Seeing all the experimental things that like the humans that they'd experimented on. I thought that was dope. I don't know. I thought it was dope. I thought it was great. I loved all the extra stuff. There was some stuff as you when Aerith gets taken to the plate and you eventually have to go and save her. There's a bunch of side missions you can do there. Just slow the game down a little bit. I did say that in that episode. But I was also having a bad day that episode, so I sort of took it out on the game a little bit. But, like, in all honesty, in retrospect, there were some points during that section of the game where it slows down the game a little bit. It kind of feels like, oh, we're doing all these side quests and we're finding children and we're doing these little bits and bobs here and there when we should be going up to save Aerith because she's just been captured by the Shinra. It felt like the urgency was just sucked out of that bit, and just a little bit. But the side quests ended up being fun anyway, so I ended up doing them. And I don't regret it, and I'm glad it's still in there, and I'll play it again when I eventually play it again, so say what you want about it. Right, let's get to the burning issue with this game, which is both awesome and a little bit, like, don't get me wrong, I think the game's great, and these bits I did love, but let's just talk about Sephiroth in this game. Now, as a character, the way he looks, the way he sounds, the way he speaks, the parts he's in, goosebumps, wonderful, brilliant, loved it. But in the original game, for anyone who knows, in the original game, during the Midgar section, he's not in it, really. That was one of the biggest issues with the game, is that how are you going to make a game where the villain, the main villain that everybody loves and who's iconic, is hardly in it? Like, that would be like remaking The Empire Strikes Back, but barely putting Darth Vader in it. Do you know what I mean? Except in this one, it feels like a little bit that sometimes Sephiroth was shoehorned into the story. Just a little bit for me. It felt a bit kind of like, well, we have to have Sephiroth in it. He's the ultimate mega villain. And the bit where you first see him with when there's all the burning and stuff, loved that bit. Bit when you're in the Shinra building and you see him there, loved that bit. All the flashback bits and him talking to him in his mind, loved all of that stuff. And the end. Let's talk about the end. I loved playing it. I love the way it looked. I love the way it felt, and it felt massive and impactful, and just this big over-the-top JRPG ending with lights and like the fate of the world, the fate of time and space, and all that stuff. It felt awesome to play. But when you really think about it, that bit is properly shoehorned into this game, like, for you to fight Sephiroth. Like, because the final boss of that bit is just the robot that you fight on the freeway, on the highway. And then you leave to pursue Sephiroth and eventually fight him. But in this one, you directly fight him. I mean, it may come out that it's not. When you do chop him, it turns out to not be him. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. But they definitely shoehorned this sort of fighting the Arbiter of Fate and the destruction of Midgard. It was, don't get me wrong, it was awesome and I loved it. But it was definitely a bit shoehorned in, wasn't it? A little bit. Like, I wonder if it was needed or not. I don't know, it's one of those bits that I'm sort of on the fence with. Did I love it? Did I not? I'm not too sure. But either way, I just wanted to see Sephiroth in it and I got it. So maybe I'm part of the problem, do you know what I mean? But Sephiroth sometimes felt a bit, even though I loved him in it, they had to inject him in the game somewhere, because he's hardly in it in the Midgar section of the original game. So, but it is what it is, you know, and you play that end bit and it's still epic to play. It's still cool and I still love it, and I'll still gush over it like when I play it for the second time and the third and fourth and fifth and forever. Okay, so it's time to wrap this up, I think, because I've gushed over this game a little bit too much, even for my taste. I think the burning question that everyone always asks when there's a remake of a movie or a game or something like that is it better than the original, or is it as good as the original? Now, I've played the Medieval remake on the channel, and I really enjoyed playing it. Is it as good as the original? No. I don't think so. You get the original in it if you complete it, but there's something about the original which is more charming. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the graphics, maybe it's my nostalgia, I don't know what it is. But in this case, it's a funny one. Is it as good as the original? I think the answer to that question is it's not the same game. It's not. It's a completely different game with the same story elements. Like, it feels different, it plays different, it handles different, it goes in different directions, it gives you different emotions. I don't really think you can compare it. It feels like another Final Fantasy game as opposed to a cash grab idea of an original amazing game. When I play the original Final Fantasy VII, I'll have the same original emotions. Obviously, I'll have different feelings of the way things have gone now, purely because I know different things. But it's a different game, so you can't compare it. It's a different game entirely. For me, it is going to be one of my all-time favourite games now. I thoroughly loved it. The anticipation to it, to its release, the actually playing the first couple of episodes, the completing it, the seeing all the characters, the getting into the world and living in that space again with it expanded. For me personally, think it's amazing. It's my game of the year, like, without really question, and that's probably because I'm a Final Fantasy VII fan in general, and that sort of clouds it a bit, but I don't care. It's not as good as the original because it's not the same game. That's the answer. That's the answer I'm going to give, because you can't compare it. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I think people will play this game and not like the original. I think this game has its own merit. And I think that's a testament to Square Enix for creating pretty much a game from the ground up, which I think is like kudos to them for that, because that's like, they could have just taken some tropes and changed a couple of bits and, you know, just made a remake of something, you know, but no, this is its own beast and it's a great game, and I very much look forward to getting back into it in the same way that I do the original. There you have it, guys. That's just some of my thoughts, feelings and opinions on the remake of Final Fantasy VII. I had such a great time playing it, sharing it with some of my friends, recording it for whoever decides they wanted to watch it. And if you did watch any of the videos in the series, then thank you very much. That means a lot to me. If anyone liked any of the videos, that's also incredible. I'd really appreciate that. That really does help out the channel if you could do that. It's one I'm going to remember for this channel. A big one. There's a couple of big games on the channel that I've played that I'll remember vividly, like Rayman, because it was difficult and excruciating, but I still completed it, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City, because I don't think I've had such a good time playing it than I did playing it for this channel. And this one is one of them. It's a big one for me. I've anticipated this game for years and years and years and years, and me and my brother have great fond memories of it, like my brother Steven, because he loves the game as well. And now I'm going to have all new fond memories of playing it, and luckily I'm going to be able to watch those fond memories back because I've recorded it for the channel. I'm so proud to have played it, and I'm so glad that I get the opportunity to do this, you know. And it's amazing that this has happened in my lifetime, that I've got to replay this game at the age of 32 and fall in love with it all over again. I'm very grateful and very lucky. Considering what's going on in the world right now, I'm very lucky to have had this lovely, amazing distraction, which I've loved it. In the comments below, I would love to know your thoughts on Final Fantasy VII, on the remake, on the original. Were there bits you loved? Were there bits you hated? What did you think of the combat system? Let me know any thoughts you've got on this game. Obviously, you completed it a lot faster than I did. Have you played a second playthrough of it? Has it got that replayability? Has it got that replay factor for you? Just let me know anything, any opinions you've got on Final Fantasy VII, good, bad, whatever. Just let me know in the comments below, because I'd be very grateful if you do that, because I'd love to strike up a conversation and talk about Final Fantasy VII. till the cows come home, because I'm in love with the game all over again. Who saw that coming, eh? In the description below as well, I will also, there's a video link for me, because I got the special edition, and I got Cloud's figure with the Daytona bike, with all the special edition stuff and things like that, and I did an unboxing of that. That'll be in the description below if you want to check that out. All the videos to the playthrough will be in the description below, so if you want to check out any specific point of the game, it's all down below. All 22 episodes of the series. They're long episodes as well, so buckle up. But yeah, that'll all be in the description below, so if you want to check those out, I'd be super grateful. Thank you for joining me in this video and listening to me rave and rant about how much I love this game. And it's amazing how a game can impact your life so much, you know. But if you're a gamer, you probably know this kind of thing. So thanks for joining me here. If you enjoyed this episode, then please support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, then click the notification bell, spread the word, and always remember to take it easy.